Hi guys, we've teamed up with our friends over at Matcha to bring you these adorable matcha monster cookies for Halloween. They're super easy to make, and we'll list all the ingredients and instructions in our blog post linked down below. First thing we have to do is make the dough. So for our matcha monster cookies, I've listed all the ingredients, directions, and measurements down below. We'll have white granulated sugar, salted butter, vanilla extract, matcha from our friends over at Matcha, thank you guys, all-purpose flour, an egg also at room temperature, and baking powder. Now, we're also going to be decorating these, so we're gonna have some cookie cutters. My friend Amanda over at Brighton Cutters 3D printed these. They are amazing. I have a rounded square and a circle. I have a rolling pin right here that I got from Amazon. It's got these cool guides that allow you to roll all your dough the same width for consistency. We've got some black sanding sugar. We've got our monster hair right here. I've got some eyeballs. These are just Wilton candy eyeballs that you can get at the grocery store. You can also just pipe them with buttercream. And lastly, because we are making very simple buttercream cookies, I have some buttercream left over from a previous project that I'm going to be using. You can use store-bought buttercream, or you can choose to make your own buttercream. You guys can also optionally use some piping bags. So we're going to be piping the buttercream. If you don't have piping bags, no worries, you can also use Ziploc bags. All right, so now we've combined the butter and the sugar, and it comes together like kind of like almost marzipan pasty. We're gonna go ahead and crack in our egg and then mix to combine it well. Kind of looks more like a custard, right, you guys? So we want to scrape down the sides to make sure that everything is well incorporated. For reference, I'm using a 7-quart KitchenAid. You can double, triple, quadruple, whatever you like this recipe to make more, but we don't have a lot of volume here because I only used 1 stick of butter as my starting point. I'm gonna give it another good mix after I scrape it down so that everything gets incorporated before adding our matcha and our baking powder. All right, so we're going to sift in our matcha and baking powder so that there are no clumps. Mix to combine. Scrape down the sides. Splash of vanilla. Now that everything's combined, I'm going to put all the all-purpose flour in one go. And with sugar cookie doughs, you want to see all the flour get combined, and the dough will kind of pull away from the sides of the bowl on its own. And that's how you know it's done. You don't want to overmix it because that'll cause some issues when you're baking. It'll cause misshapen cookies because of all that gluten. And you don't want to undermix it, or else you're going to have a really uneven bake. You might end up with bits of extra fat here and there. So we're looking for it to get just combined. And I've just got the mixer on the lowest speed possible for this next bit. All right, that took about a minute. Everything's well combined, mostly pulled away from the sides, and it kind of looks like wasabi. This is ready to go. We're going to put this between 2 pieces of saran wrap, roll it out, chill it so that it's easier to work with, cut out our cookies, and bake them. So I'm putting the dough onto the saran wrap. You guys aren't gonna need any extra flour. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and use our guided rolling pin here, and we're just going to roll it out to our desired thickness, and I'm going to rotate my dough. And feel free to put this in another bit of saran wrap if it's not enough saran wrap. And chilled dough is a lot easier to work with than room temp dough. So we're gonna throw this in the fridge for about 20 to 30 minutes so that it hardens up a little bit before we cut it. So I've got my buttercream here. You guys can use store-bought buttercream. It's really not a big deal, especially if you're gonna be making this with kids. I also have a tip here. I will put the tip number down below, but it's got some jagged teeth on one side and it's totally flat on the other side. We're gonna be piping the mummy bandages with this tip. I'm gonna show you quickly how to load it into a tipless piping bag, or if you're using a Ziploc bag, this works fine for that as well. So I've got my bag here, got my tip here. I'm gonna open it up, stick my hand through it, hold it open with one of my hands. You're gonna grab your piping tip and we're gonna slide it down. Being careful not to drag the tip down the sides of the piping bag so that you don't accidentally puncture it or cause the bag to weaken at any point. We're going to squeeze this bag up, and you can kind of see that it kind of stops at a certain point, right? Because that's just the way the tip fits. We're going to cut it right below where the tip kind of ends so that it peeks through the piping bag. And then you're gonna really push it up. Make sure the tip is not obstructed on any of the sides. And I'm gonna stick my hand back in the bag. We're gonna give it a twist, and we're going to grab the tip from here so that we secure it. And I'm gonna put it in a cup so that as we load our buttercream, nothing comes out the bottom, all right? So to load the buttercream, all I'm going to do is I'm cutting my large bag of buttercream, and we're gonna put some buttercream in here. Very simple. So this is again for the mummy bandages. I think that's enough buttercream. Get it out of the bag. And use our hands to kind of squeegee the buttercream down, or you can, use something else to help you squeegee a little bit. This just makes it easier to use. I'm gonna give it a little twist at the top, and then I'm gonna set this aside until we're ready to use it. I'm also going to fill another piping bag with the white buttercream, except this time I'm not putting a tip in it. We're going to be piping, Frankenstein's monster's hair and eyes, and then dipping them in black sanding sugar so we don't have to color any buttercream because we're lazy and we're just trying to keep things as simple as possible. All right, set this aside. And now we're gonna go bake our cookies, and I'll meet you back here. So you guys can see I'm not using any extra flour to cut the cookies out with. It's just not needed with our cookies. And by using the plastic wrap, you have a lot less cleanup too. And I like to keep things as simple and as easy as possible. So here we are. And then we will re-roll the bits here so that we can get more cookies. Make sure to smush them together. Make sure Make sure to squish it together pretty good so that you don't get gaps in your dough. I'm really, really squishing them together. So this makes about 1 dozen 3-inch cookies. And then you guys can keep this and bake some more on another tray, or save this and freeze it for later. Our cookies are baked and totally cool all the way through, slightly brown on the bottom. And if you want more matcha, you can add more matcha. If you don't like matcha, you can omit it. We're going to be making a little monster, Frankenstein's monster, as well as this cute mummy. These are so easy to do, so quick, and a great project for the kiddos. We're really minimizing all of our materials here. I really only have the white buttercream that we prepped earlier. So the first thing we're gonna do is Frankenstein's monster's hair. And you don't have to be perfect here. We're just dropping the buttercream down. Again, perfect, easy project for the kiddos. Fill it in. You don't even have to be perfect here. Just get most of the gaps, because we're gonna dip this. I'm using the tip of the piping bag just to help get the buttercream where I want it. We're gonna dip that into the sanding sugar, the black sanding sugar right here. Make sure to coat it all the way around. Get all the way up in there so that you cover all the buttercream with the sanding sugar. Easy hair. Get rid of any excess, brush off any excess. And then we're gonna use icing glue dots for the eyes. Grab our eyes here. These are from Wilton. Super, super simple project for the kiddos. And finally, we have a rainbow dust double-sided edible pen. It's got a felt tipped side. Oops, I just bonked his eyeball. It's got a felt tipped side that's a little bit bigger, and then a fine tip side that's very, very fine. We're gonna use the felt tip side to give him a little scar and a little mouth. Keep it simple. And you can adjust the shape of your buttercream should you desire. Just like that, you've got a super cute Frankenstein's monster cookie. Now to do the mummy, it's also very, very simple. We're gonna put the eyes down first. 2 dots for glue. Eyeballs on. And then you're gonna grab your buttercream bag with the tip. You can use a side with teeth or without teeth. They both actually look quite good. Here I've used the side with teeth. You can see there's texture on the mummy bandages. Let's do one without teeth. So whatever side of the piping tip is pointing up is gonna be the side that shows up. So if we're going to be doing with the flat side, you just apply even pressure, release pressure, even pressure, release pressure, and just kind of randomly put the bandages on your mummy. It's gonna look good no matter what. Very simple, super cute mummy cookie.